So in my opinion, some of the best marketers, especially in the real estate world, are really dialed in to doing business with their past clients or their database. And Ryan Larussa has a really cool system on how he stays in touch with his past clients. And then he also adds a little bit of a flair the way he deals with his real estate agents. And he has a different spin and a tool that a lot of lenders don't have. And if you want to know what that is, tune into this conversation with Ryan Larussa with Synergy One. Let's talk about how Ryan Larussa markets his business and your team markets your business. And I know I have a good insight on how you do it. And one of the reasons why I know part of y'all's process is to follow up with your past clients is because about once every 6 weeks, I'm going to get a text message from Ryan.
Yeah.
I mean, it's religious, right? And I know that part of your system is staying in touch with the past clients, and it's impressive because there's not a lot of people who think of it's the past client, which I think past is the wrong way to describe them. Everybody's a client.
Right.
Are they a client or are they an active client? Meaning, are they currently looking to buy, sell a house or refinance? And so I think you perceive from the same lens. Yep. Because I like I said, I get those segments. So how do you market your business, and how do you keep up with your past clients?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think the first thing is everybody that we close in the past we think is our past client. But what we like to kind of focus on is like, hey, let's talk about your top 400 past clients, right? Let's dial it in a little bit more. And then if we've got a great relationship and I'm the connector, and let's call Courtney the real estate agent, and I'm feeding, it's a reciprocal relationship to where I'm consistently feeding back. If I'm staying in contact with you and I'm providing great service, in touch, doing everything I can be doing, there's an opportunity for a reciprocal relationship because Courtney sent you to me. You trust Courtney, Courtney trusts me, and it's a circle of trust that we have developed here. So we really try to hone it into, give me your top 400 past clients. And most of the time when I sit down with referral partners, builders, or agents, I say, hey, tell me about your past clients. Oh yeah, I've got 3,500 in my database. Well, guess what? That's not your past clients. That's your past people that you've closed. I'm talking about the top 400s, the Jareds, right? The Courtneys, the people that you're in relationship with that know you, like you, trust you, and have the availability. They want to see you succeed. Well, if I'm not asking you what I can do to help you, and vice versa, it's a reciprocal relationship that we've got to look at a little bit differently. And I think some of the guys and gals in our business that look at it as a transaction, Courtney mentioned this earlier, it's just transactional. Those are the ones that struggle in a tough market. Well, the ones that have a great relationship and they're connectors. You and I have a connection with John at Attract and several other guys that we do business with, Will, Chadwick. You know, you start thinking about some of the impact those guys have. But if we're always consistently top of mind because I like you, not because I feel obligated to call you, there's a big difference. It's like, oh my gosh, I got to call Jared again. I don't want to do that. And you guys don't want to do that in our business. We want to do business with the guys that we're in the same circle. And that goes back to team. Well, if we're teaching our team the same concept, there's more referral opportunities to generate more business. Again, I don't like talking about COVID because those were the fake years. But during the fake years, loans were raining, opportunities were raining on us. Well, the last 2.5, 3 years were a famine. What were you doing in those times to cultivate the relationships? Now you've got more market share opportunity, and the blessing is here because rates have come down a bunch and people are like, okay, now I think it's the right time. Well, you've put yourself in the right position because you had the right partnerships, and now you just got to be persistent. So those are kind of the 3 Ps that I always focus on. All right, am I in position? Do I have the right partners? Past clients is a great partnership that we have to focus on. And then am I persistently following up with the people? Because at closing, what did I tell you? I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be your guy. If I said that, I got to deliver that. And I think that's where a lot of us kind of get, and it's not, they just don't have a system. We have a system that we know A plus B will equal C. If I take this amount of calls, I pull this amount of credits, this is what we're going to do. And so it's a repeatable cycle. And so from a loan officer standpoint, when I always sit down and meet with loan officers, I said, tell me your biggest struggle. They go, man, I'm inconsistent, right? Most loan officers are inconsistent. It's not that I'm consistent, but I am consistent with the process. And so if I can teach them the process, then they're like, man, they feel safe and secure. Their referral partners love it. And their past clients absolutely love it because when we're calling and checking up throughout the year, guess what happens? We're top of mind. I get a referral. Hey, Courtney, talk to Jared. Jared's buddy's looking to buy. Here's a hot lead.
Yep.
And that's where the reciprocal business comes back of like, it's no more gimme. It's let's get a reciprocal relationship to somebody that I like, and we can go have dinner and we can go talk about life, and I can be at the parties and things like that. That's what business is about.
100%.
That's where we have to go. And in this world of like everything is instant, we forget about it because it gets transactional.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Well, that phone call is a lot easier whenever you've done the work of figuring out which 400 people you enjoy talking to.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Because I mean, like people all get turned off by the idea of having to pick up a phone and make a phone call. But if you're intentional about those 400 people in your database, they're probably going to share common values, have some sort of common experience. You had a really good experience at the closing table.
Yes.
And so you can have a conversation with them. Like we can talk about, like last time we talked on the phone, we talked about our dogs.
Yep.
We talked about baseball. We talked about being a dad. We talked about the market and the real estate world. So I mean, like we have common experiences, right? And like if I'm a part of that 400, it's because me and you have when we connect.
Yep.
It's an enjoyable conversation. It's not the guy's calling me trying to generate
Yep.
business for me. Now, look, like you said, we're here to help each other out. Like I care about you, you care about me because we have that type of bond. So we want to see each other succeed. And so it does get to that point. But that's the beauty of a relationship based business.
Sure.
Not that cold calling and the lead generation, the buying the leads and stuff like that is not a way to do business.
Yeah.
But I just relate to that relationship style of business much more than the other one, just because it's way more fun and enjoyable for me.
I always get convicted because my main mentor, which in the way you reference your coach, he's in essence my biggest coach. He always told me, he said, Courtney, the best thing that you can get out of a transaction is not the house. It's the ally across the closing table. And so for me as an investor, I buy properties from sellers. He was like, Courtney, when's the last time you talked to, and then how many people, it's the volume transaction that can kind of, that I get stumped with. But he's like, when's the last time that you followed up with them? When's the last time that you talked with them? He's like, when you build an ally, which is that mutually benefiting relationship, there's a level I want, and I've since meeting him, 5-6 years ago, he changed my mindset because I'd buy a house and be done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how many allies did I leave in the dust?
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's one of those things where it's so I love that you're like, hey, I'm not going anywhere.
Yep.
Setting that expectation, and then again, your process allows you to deliver on that promise.
Right.
And so I love that. I think it's huge because when it is that famine, it's what gets you through. It's relationships, right? Yep. When times are really tough, what gets you through? Relationships, right? Yep. And I'm not saying that every relationship your life has to, result in business, but it's people who are cheering you on. They want to see you do well. And that are, when you stay that top of mind by keeping a consistent relationship, not letting it grow stale. I think that's huge.
So the past clients is a big part of business, and a lot of people forget about that. But I think something else that sets you apart that other loan officers might not have the opportunity to do is the coaching that you do for your agents.
Yeah.
Let's talk through that because I don't recall if I heard about this.
Yeah, so when I walked in his office the other day, I walked in, he was on the phone, and I overheard as I kind of stepped out while he finished his conversation, he was clearly talking to a real estate agent, talking about just kind of giving them a mindset shift because they were struggling a little bit. And I know you have a coaching program. You're certified in some sort of coaching, but you never really told me what program it is. But I just know that you offer yourself as a coach to your partners.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah, so number one, I think it's coming, which I've learned this in business. If you give, then hey, I'm just giving what I like to do most is to coach. And so I don't know where that came from. Back in 2016, I had zero purchase business, zero, absolutely none. It was I was in the first from 2000 to 16 years, refinance only. That's all I knew, right? In 2016, we had a huge shift, and I had to go find ways of getting purchase business. And I found a coach that had a system, and I'm a systems guy, and they coach real estate agents and loan officers all across the country. It's a very intense. Some people like it, and a lot of people don't like it, right? Because it's turning in homework, getting fines, paying a large amount of money to get coached. For me, my personality, I love it. Yeah. But what that allows me to do is I go on site visits to other real estate markets, to other big real estate rock star groups across the country, some big teams, some small teams. And so I get peek behind the hood of how are they doing it in their market.
Right.
And for me, I love that. Some people say, man, why in the world would you do that? I just love it because now I can take that back to some of my rock star agents that were killers the last couple of years. Guess what? They struggle. Some of my folks that were very not doing much, they're killing it. We all know that this business is an up and down. But if you're providing a resource, which I do, which is looking at their numbers, helping them build their team, helping them get a different mindset or a different shift of like, hey, look, I know what you're telling me, but have you thought about it from this way? Let's role play. Let's do some different things. Let's meet up for coffee. Have you sat through a buyer's consultation? Here's one thing that I challenge a lot of agents. I said, hey, look, I hope it's me, but if it's not, have you ever sat through a buyer's consultation with your lender?
Wow.
And they look at me like, no. Why don't you try that? Why don't you see how you're being edified and referred? Why don't you see what that presentation looks like? Do you have a good buyer's presentation to present to your buyer? Do you have a good listing presentation? Like all of those are things that when the market's tough, you better be dialed in. And so now what do we see? We see the good agents that are doing exceptional. Why?
Yep.
Because their process has had to get super dialed in. You see some of the agents that were doing okay that are not doing good at all because they don't have a process, but they don't have anybody coaching them. It's like, hey, Keller Williams has a great training program. Outside of that, there's a lot of other good companies, but there's really nobody. They're on an island on them by themselves.
Yeah.
So we come along and help. And if I've got the back end of like, I'm doing something like this, but my team's available to do what we talk about, and I can spend my time coaching and adding value, then man, that's what's going to separate us apart and make sure that that relationship is cemented. Not that I have a problem with the buying the leads thing, but let's be honest. At some particular point in time, the spend doesn't equate to the closings, and you can't just continue to spend and not make money. So what can we do to show them what we need to do to help build their business? That's where I shine. I love that. I love meeting with first-time home buyers and investors, but really adding value to my referral partners is where I believe that I'm the best use of my time.
Yeah, gotcha.
And so that's kind of a little bit about the coaching piece. It's free for all my referral partners. It's something I pay a lot for, but I'm okay with that because it juices me up, right? It gives me opportunity to be like, hey, look, let's go add value to somebody today. And if we could change one person's life today, then I came from the giver's mindset.